how does show directing and running a bar go together?
You know, Adam, it's like a sip of high-proof bourbon. At first, it burns a little bit going down, but then it is oh so good in the end.
It's showtime. This is The Ski Show, the ultimate show ski podcast, and your one and only source for all things show skiing, bringing you news, knowledge, and interviews with the legends and stars of our sport. Here are your hosts, Matt Heilman and Adam Shallow.
Welcome to The Ski Show, still the only media on the planet dedicated to the sport of show skiing. The ski season is underway, tournament season is nearly here, and our awards committee is once again scouting talent for our 32 awards categories this year that we will award at Think Tank next year once again. 2025 is shaping up to be a fantastic year.
Today's sponsors, Flyman Skis, custom-made jump skis, and Weatherboard swivel skis at affordable prices. You can get yours at flymanskis.com. The Paul Stokes Agency at American Family Insurance. Let Paul be your insurance agent. And by Saga Sports, it stands for Ski and Gymnastics Academy, and they do water ski lessons and trampoline training. Check them out at sagasports.us.
Today we're going to talk with a couple of awesome guys from the Shawano Ski Sharks, all about their growth and rise as a team. Our next episode is our tournament season preview. That's always a popular one, and it's an important tournament year on many levels, including it being the 50th Nationals this year. So it's going to be a fun summer, lots to talk about with our tournament season preview. All right, time for a little Buck Up recap. The first Buck Up Pro Freestyle Jump Tour stop was in White Bear Lake, Minnesota, and it was great. An awesome first event. First of all, kudos to Flyman Skis for doing the live stream. Really well done. Higher level live stream for that. Allowed a lot more people from around the world to watch and tune into that. So really well done on that, Nick and Jack. The event itself, second year in a row they've gone to White Bear Lake, and the guys lineup was stacked. Girls lineup had fewer competitors, and we'll talk about that in a second, but a great day of jumping overall. So we'll start with the female side. On the female side, Sarah Fedorowicz, first place. No surprise there, doing her thing, taking home the big prize money and winning first place. Gabby Tash was second. Kaylee Kohler was third, made just a ride over, and missed a heli, called it a day, cashed in $500 for third place. Bailey Hyatt was unsuccessful on some front flips and just missed out on the podium. So kudos to the ladies, 4 competitors there. The men's lineup was a much lengthier list of competitors. Really well done. So in the preliminaries, you got guys like Cale Duquesne, Ethan Schulda, both made Mobes, one-ski Mobes, and one-ski gainers. Qualified for finals. Pete Haggerty made a back half and a one-ski flip, qualified for finals. Logan Fedorowicz and Jordan Long also qualified for finals. So there are 5 guys in the finals. That turned out to be quite interesting. So Cale and Ethan both made their Mobe and their gainer in the finals. All right, so they're set up well. Pete made his back half. All Pete needed to do to win the title was to make his one-ski front flip that he was attempting, and he fell on his one-ski flip. And that was shocking for everybody to see, because you would expect Pete to make that and walk away with the title, and he didn't. So I think that's kind of the big news coming out of that Buck Up, is how that transpired. Kudos to Cale for taking first place. Amazing job jumping. Cale and Ethan both also attempted back halves in preliminaries. Both fell on them, but their Mobes and their gainers were enough to catapult them there. First place to Cale Duquesne. Second place to Ethan Schulda. Third place ended up being Logan Fedorowicz. made his one ski flip and his one ski heli, made 2 jumps. And with Pete making his back half and missing his one ski flip, he was left off the podium. Did not cash, ended up not making the podium. So interesting events, awesome competition, great jumping all around. Kudos to all of those guys and girls for the first tour stop. The next buck up isn't until late August, and I'm sure there's going to be quite a few competitors for that one, really angling for that prize money that is being given out now. Huge prize money. Congrats to all. Good job to Buck Up and to Flyman on the first live stream of this. Kudos to all. So there's your Buck Up recap. Last week, Adam, our last episode, our hot takes were largely about RAJ. You mentioned the show director battle with me and Dave. I mentioned the strength and talent of RAJ. And yes, they're still big and talented. But since our last episode, new news has come to light. Ethan Schulda, Eli Carson, and Bryson Mace will now not be skiing with RAJ, but instead, all 3 are going to be skiing with the Aquanuts.
Interesting. So clearly the Nuts have more NIL money than RAJ does.
Which is shocking, right?
They entered the transfer portal, and yeah.
Yeah.
So my hot take this week was going to be that your hot take last time isn't so hot anymore.
Exactly. So, but this could all change by the time this episode airs, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
this
you're
could
right.
change again. Like, who knows?
We probably shouldn't even be talking about it, right? It's going to be dated by the time this comes out. Sure.
Right. So, that said, this week's hot take for me is that RAJ is still the favorite. They're big. They're talented. They're at home for nationals. But things might have just got a whole lot more interesting for this summer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's part of what makes it fun, right?
Yeah.
I think we'll probably see some pretty cool things coming out of the Aquanuts jump acts, right? And obviously Janesville being at their 50th, I think they're going to be a big team. They're going to be at home. They're going to be bringing it with their ski haw production. So it'll be fun.
It's going to be a great summer. It's shaping up already to be awesome. Looking forward to all the competition, but also all the camaraderie and sportsmanship and fun that we're going to have this summer. It's going to be a great 50th, so looking forward to seeing everyone soon at a tournament site. One thing that is for certain this summer, Adam, is the great rates and service you're going to get from Paul Stokes at American Family Insurance.
Yeah, that's right. He's a barefooter and a show skier, and he's one of the best insurance agents around. With the team at American Family backing him, Paul can cover all your needs from home, auto, and so much more.
That's right. And if you reach out to Paul for a no-obligation quote, your team is going to get $30 donated back to your team. That's right, $30 just for getting a quote. No obligation. So get on it, people. Reach out to Paul Stokes at American Family Insurance.
Okay, time for our main interview today. We are here to talk all about the Shawano Ski Sharks. We'll talk about their history as well as their recent rise. They are a larger team, have built a fantastic show site, and have hosted many tournaments. Let's welcome to the show today a couple of Ski Shark greats, Dave Pasale and Brad Keischel. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hey. Good morning.
Good morning. Did Adam butcher your names at all?
Mine a little bit.
Okay.
Mine was good.
It's all right.
All right. Well, that's fun. That's the norm.
I've been called way worse.
Well, from now on, it's just Dave and Brad, so
Perfect.
we're good.
Perfect.
Now, I have to ask the first dumb question, which is, it is Shawano Ski Sharks, right? It's not Shawano, because it's spelled Shawano. I just wanted to double check.
You got it right. You're doing a great job, Adam.
I was coached before the episode.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the origin of the Ski Sharks. When did this team start? Tell us a little bit about the history.
Sure, I can go. 1976 is our believed start time. It started on Shawano Lake, where the Crandon Sea Serpents actually came to town and put on a show at what's now called the Bamboo Bar right on the lake there. And the owner of the bar found it quite interesting, and that was Jerry Olson. He decided that we should have one of those in Shawano. So 1976, he used his own boat. He used a PA system from his truck to announce it. And kind of the rest is history. We moved to the river where we're at now in the very early 80s. We've been where we are now for many, many years. But it started 1976, guy with a dream.
That's cool. What an awesome team name. We need the Crandon
Sea Serpents.
back.
Yeah.
Yes. What an awesome team name. Is there an old logo from the Crandon Sea Serpents? We could get lake lovers to make tees of the Crandon Sea Serpents.
Throwback.
If I could guess, Eric Grand probably has that somewhere, so I could probably check on that.
Yes, so let's hit up Eric for a logo of the Crandon Sea Serpents. That would be so fun. So, all right, 76, kind of launched. You mentioned the guy with the dream that got it started. Were there other early families and founders, and are any of those folks still with the club today, or their family legacies?
Yeah, for sure. I'm watching Brad, see if he's going to answer here, but the Karch family was an integral part of it back in the day, the DeFeer family. Some of those have stuck around for years. They actually had left. DeFeers had rejoined our team recently and are now going to take a break due to college and things. But Mick Ciolka, he was one of the very, very original. He drives our triple rig, and so he's an oldie but a goodie. And but yeah, other than that, there's nobody left from those days. And but we see them from time to time when they're back in town, and it's fun to reminisce.
When did you guys both get started on the club? You and your families. Brad, let's hear from you. When did you become a Shawano Ski Shark, and how did that happen for you personally?
So I started about 27 years ago. Some friends taught me and my brother how to ski, and my parents didn't want to buy a boat, so they were trying to figure out how to get us involved with the team. And actually, the first show that I was even at for Ski Sharks was one that I was a member for. So I've been doing it since then, so 27 years. And then now my 14-year-old son has been doing it for 3 years, and my 10-year-old has been doing it for 2. So we were to the point where I had to make a decision whether it was going to be keep doing what I do every summer and just drag the family along, or if they were going to get involved. And the boys decided to get involved. So my wife helps run the back dock, and my kids are helping to ski. And then back when we joined, the team only had about, I think the next time we went to state, we only had 18 skiers, and we were running on about my parents' personal inboard. And I think we might have had the Rapid Craft at that point, and maybe an old twin rig. So, my parents got involved as drivers and my mom and dad were driver and spotter, and then just been around ever since.
Yep. Your story is a lot like many, similar to mine, similar to many. You get involved, parents are involved, kids are involved at some point, and that's so fun about this sport. So that's cool to hear. Dave, how about you?
Yeah, a little bit longer than that. I joined the team when I was 12, about 36 years ago. And same type of a thing. It was one thing that our friends always did. We grew up on a lake here in Shawano, and just everybody went to the ski team. So that's as soon as I learned how to barefoot. In fact, it was Eric Grand, Danny Kowalski. It was a bunch of the Mitums, all these families. They just dragged us along to the team since then. And similar to Brad, once you start a family, it's a little bit tricky, right? So my wife was not a skier when we met. She became a skier. Her and I both skied for the team. And then we had our first child. They took a couple years off, and I had the same dilemma. Do I keep doing this, or am I done? And my daughter, Faith, joined at that time. She was 3. And so she's been on the team since then, and now everybody. My wife skis, all the kids ski, and I'm the old guy on shore, of course, now. But so yeah, that's similar story. We'd either be done or the whole family's there, and the whole family's there.
Yeah, I don't know if Adam went through that. I did. I took one summer off from show skiing, and it was in 2010. and it was on the same thing. So I had a 7-year-old, had a 2-year-old, and had a newborn born in April of that year. And it was like none of them were involved. The 7-year-old, which is Jack Heilman, had not caught on yet, or really he was skiing, but really, what's a 7-year-old boy do in a ski show? And took that summer off and regretted every second of it. I sat in the stands at State, and I was like bawling watching the show. Couldn't stand it, and then here we are, right? And now we've got a podcast.
You bet.
Matt balls every summer at some point for some reason, but so that's not a big deal. Universal truth that I think, life is easier when the whole family is involved in show skiing. So you guys started in 1976. So next year, 2026, you'll be celebrating 50 years, thereabouts. What, for you guys, what would be considered the heyday of the Ski Sharks, or are you in it right now?
I guess I'll answer first. I think we're in it right now, honestly. Talking to old members and the people who started it, like Dave said, with a pickup truck and a boat and a PA system, never dreamed that we'd be where we're at with the number of people is just beyond what we ever comprehended would be on our team. And the draw for crowds and the site, and it's, I would say as long as we stay on the right path, I think we're in it right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, teams come and go, or skiers come and go, as you all know, and you have the ebbs and flow of talent, and you got college, babies, marriage, all those things that kind of draw people away. But if they stick around or come back, you get bigger, right? So our talent right now, I'd agree with Brad. We are the most talented we've ever been. We're the biggest we've ever been. We have the nicest stuff we've ever had. I mean, everything just right now is our time for sure.
That's fun. That's super cool. And so like as you are in that moment, in that heyday, and you look back and reflect on your years, you guys 27 and 30 some years each, what has been the most challenging thing over the years for the Ski Sharks?
Money. Just like everything. Like I said, when we went back, our team took about 10 years off from state and just did exhibition shows, and we had anywhere between 10 and 25 skiers. And then we had to make the decision whether we start to be a competition team again or stay where we're at. And like I said, we didn't have any money. We couldn't, Dave always brings up the comparison. We couldn't buy a pizza after the ski practice or a fundraiser because we didn't have the money to do it. And once we decided to be a competitive team, we had to kind of switch gears and find some boats that ran halfway decent and just kind of push forward. But fundraising and member size, just same as every team.
Well, those two go hand in hand, right? I mean, if you have a small membership, then it's hard to fundraise because you've only got so many people to go out there and sell raffle tickets, do whatever. So the bigger your membership base, the easier it gets to fundraise. That's been our experience. So I totally get that.
And we had a couple families that luckily kept us afloat, and a couple silent side sponsors that might get a phone call and say, "We need a boat. Can we borrow a couple grand?" And then borrowing never really got paid back, but.
It's like a parent loan. They just don't really pay that one back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we like you said, we literally dock day. Feed the kids, and we just couldn't. And along the way, though, we had some good recruitment push, and all of a sudden, just some great corporate sponsorships, like local corporate, I'll call them that. American Marine steps up. They give us everything we need, everything we have. Malibu's, Mercury's, you name it. And so that was a huge partnership. But once we started getting that and getting bigger and more popular, selling the ads in the book became a lot easier. I remember doing that when I was 12, 13, 15, 16 years old, and you walk into a business, they don't know who you are, and they're like, "Yeah, our budget's done for the year." Oh, okay. So eventually, unfortunately, by default, I suppose, I took that over. I was looking back, it was 12 years ago I took over that stupid book. But it's a lot of work now, but we fill the book. It's relationships through my business in this community, and we leverage those to the max. And that's a huge fundraiser, but way easier than it was back in the day. But I think our team is so relevant today in our community that we get new sponsors every year. We have people that want to come alongside of us. So money now has become less of an issue as it is membership. And we just had a little influx of membership, actually able-bodied men, we'll call them, where, we're a Division II team pulling 444 highs this year. I mean,
Is that what we have to call our award now, Adam? Instead of chick haulers, we have to call them able-bodied men?
Hey. A little more PC. Yeah. Able-bodied.
Right. Able-bodied men of the year.
Well, I mean, if we go a step further, it'd be able-bodied person of the year.
Yeah.
So,
right.
yeah.
You're right.
Right.
But you said it before, Adam, when you're 7, or I think maybe Matt said it, but a 7-year-old boy, what do you do, right? We could get 20 of those every year, and keeping them engaged till they're able to do something is a hard task. So we were just lucky. Like I said, we've got a lot of members this year. It should be pretty fun.
That's awesome. Well, Adam, this summer, Flyman Skis is going to be all over the sport of show skiing. We've already had one Buck Up Pro Tour stop, and Flyman was the title sponsor, helping these athletes with big prize money in freestyle jump.
Yeah, and besides custom-made jump skis, they also have beautiful Featherboard swivel skis. Your jump skis and swivel skis can be a custom design, or you can choose one of their great stock designs as well. Either way, you'll be getting skis that perform great and are affordable.
Yep, summer is underway, and you're going to see Flyman Skis everywhere. Get your custom-made jump skis and your Featherboard swivel skis at flymanskis.com. That's flymanskis.com.
All right, so you guys kind of talked about, like, hey, there was a point where we had, anywhere from 10 to 20 skiers, and now Dave, you just mentioned you guys are pulling 444s. How many skiers do you have, roughly?
I think a guess would be 45 to 50 right now.
Okay.
And, I mean, our membership is probably 125 or so, as, all the support that goes behind the scenes.
Yep.
But I think, Brad, that's probably about right, huh?
I think so. It's hard to judge, but yeah, that sounds about right.
Do you guys have a junior program?
Not really.
No. Okay.
Where do you guys pull your skiers from? Like, what's the I'm not familiar with the geography here, but what's the biggest kind of community closest to your show site? Or are there many?
So our site's actually in downtown Shawano. So the
Okay.
Shawano community is probably 50% of our draw. I guess you can correct me.
And how big is Shawano?
So we have just under 10,000 for our population, but the influx
Okay.
of summer population, because we do have Shawano Lake, which is a big draw, and that's, it's a 22 square mile body of water, and then we have the river that we ski on, which is all interconnected, and then there's more houses up and down that. So we do have, if you want to call them a summer demographic, that's probably 2 to 3 times that size, because we have families from Slinger, New London, Dave's
Green Bay, Swamico.
Yeah. When Dave was growing up, Eric Grand, he's talked about, and then Danny Kowalski, those families were families that traveled up from the Milwaukee area to their summer cabin up in Cloverleaf Lakes. So it's really from all over the state, but then it's brought in by cottages, summer homes, things like that.
I would, if I had to guess, about 50% of our club is not from Shawano.
I was just going to ask that question. Like, what percentage is more of the summer home type? Okay.
When did you guys start to see the rise in membership, and how did that happen? Was that did that happen organically? Was there an effort, a movement, a vision to grow? How did that recent rise in membership size take place?
I'll just chime in real quick, Brad, because you were probably part of this. When Ben Deek was the president of our club for a couple years, I think he was president, I don't remember. That's when I just kind of remember all of a sudden we got people, and he went to the schools and they put up booths and things like that. And I always just remember that seemed to be a time when it jumped. Now after that, I mean, there's got to be way more that went into it, Brad, and maybe you were more of a part of it than I was.
I don't know. I think as far as membership came, I think, a lot of stuff that me and you have sat down and talked about with the development of the ski site and getting our name out in the community, and then our Learn to Skis and our interaction with just community members got better, because we used to be, back when we were that small team, we were the nuisance. They didn't want us around, not to an extreme point, but, it was like, the ski sharks are down there, we can't go tubing on the river, it was that kind of thing.
They tolerated you.
Right.
Yeah.
And to a point. And I think as we pushed with the city to develop the ski site and develop Smalley Park and the vision we saw just for our own, I guess you could say, personal wants and needs, I think it just kind of came organically through that.
Yeah, it's a desirable place to be, and that was really our ultimate goal, is to make it desirable. And we have had some organic growth is important, and I really believe in that, but we've also had some people transfer from other teams, which is awkward sometimes, but that has helped our growth with those able-bodied people we're talking about. And that probably comes from the fact that our site's nice, our equipment's nice, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, we've worked our butt off to get it to be a desirable place. And now, like you said that, Brad, we were a nuisance. It was tricky. And now we're a relevant tourist attraction for this community, and we're, celebrated, I guess, if you want to call it that.
And
How many shows do you guys do a week?
One.
One. What day is that?
Wednesday night shows. Our kids will ski around 5:30, and then we try to start our show promptly at 6. We usually run on show skier time, so it varies a little
6:07 typically, something.
We try to start at 6. It's more like 6:30.
And then we try to do.
We also do 2
shows.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
As we ramp into state, right around 4th of July state time, we do 2 Sunday shows.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Well, what kind of crowd base do you get at these Wednesday night shows? Like average crowd size?
400 to 500 probably.
Yeah, I said 500 is in an average crowd. Around 4th of July, obviously picks up. We've had 800 or so, and then usually around end of the year when we do our big draw for our raffle, plus it's the end of the season, depending on the weekend, we've filled our beach with 1,500-ish, give or take.
It's awesome. And so hearing your
Very
story,
cool.
like the rise of team size, and then you mentioned the site improvements, the equipment improvements that go along with that. Like your whole profile in the community has risen, and that's all contributed to your growth, and that's super cool. Talk about the specific show site improvements, what you've done over the years, and how you've made your show site super nice and attractive.
Well, I'll start, and Brad can maybe enhance it. But the Park and Rec department, we got a new Park and Rec director, I don't know, was that 6-7 years ago now? And he was very interested in what we're doing. And we were skiing, I don't know, a couple hundred yards south of where we're currently at for a lot of years. Because the beach closed down. They said, hey, why don't you guys go to the beach? All right. So then actually that was really nice. But our goal was to ultimately, that nuisance thing we're talking about, let's separate the beach and ski sharks again. They tore the hospital down that was there, and we offered to invest our own money to completely revamp the site for our needs and come alongside as a partner on the park to build the pavilion that you see there. And so literally Matt Hendricks and I sat over a beer, and he ate the dumbest lunch. It was tomatoes with oil on them. I remember that because I don't know who the hell would ever order that for fun, and he regrets that to this day. But anyway, so at that meeting, we had the dream of building Smalley Park the way it is. So with Brad and others that are very integral parts of our team, we thought, well, we want amphitheater seating. We want a building with storage. We want a ski up beach area, blah, blah, blah. So our total investment into Smalley Park right now is like $230,000 of Ski Sharks money. And I always tell people that
Oh.
because, you know, you hear, oh, that's your park, they just give it to you. I said, no, hold on. We've invested all the infrastructure, every dock, every bleacher, all the landscaping, the sprinkler system, the storage areas. We paid for all that. Thankfully for, you know, just great sponsors that came along to help us pay for it. But yeah, it was really the vision, I think, is carried out, Brad. I think it turned out the way we wanted it.
Yeah. You know, like Dave said, the Parks and Rec department gave us that. We were in a blue pole building with a broken down bread van behind it that held our sound system. And our concession stand ran out of the old shower, the boys and girls shower separation room. So we had a few sets of bleachers and a beach. I mean, we were grateful to have a nice place to ski up on. Even in that site, you know, we go to some of these sites and it's all rock and everything. So we took care of what we had. But with the hospital moving and the helipad getting taken out, you know, and the push from our community where we had a vision to get this done in, let's say, 5 to 10 years. And we did it in some processes. We had a tiered amphitheater for a bit before, well, the city was going through their plannings for the buildings. And then we were like, we need to get bleachers because we're filling this up. And we were going to buy one set of bleachers and then hopefully get another set in a couple of years of the bigger ones. And then, you know, they came across and we had sponsors come through and they're like, well, if you're going to get one, get two. So, you know, luckily, you know, the drive and relationship with our community is obviously huge.
And our goal
That's great.
ultimately was to grow the team, but also to host events. And that was, you know, that when you're talking to the community, of course, hey, we're going to bring people into our town, fill the hotels, blah, blah, blah. And again, we've done that several times with many different events and another one this summer. And so I think, like I said, it turned out how we envisioned it. It's given us the opportunity to host things, which was our goal. And yeah, so here we are.
So you had events in mind when you were kind of building out this site. It wasn't like, hey, this is just for Wednesday night shows. This is potentially we want to host tournaments and other events.
Right. Obviously,
Cool.
we try to remind our team all the time that we're here to entertain our home crowd, and state's just a bonus, you know, that kind of thing. So we wanted the best site for our team and our community, and I think we accomplished having one of the top sites in the state with a, you know, great stage and a great seating area and plenty of it and a sand area to ski up on. So yeah, that was, but also in the vision, we were like, if we're going to make a nice site, let's let everybody enjoy it as much as possible. And that's the mentality I think we still have.
So the events, I want to get into some of that and some of the events that you've hosted. Let's start with, I want to talk about the big pull, because we've talked about that on this podcast before, some of the big pull stuff, and I want to talk about that boat. So let's talk about your site and the big pull events you've hosted, and then talk about that awesome boat you guys had last year and how that came to be.
I'll start with the big pole, and then I'll let Dave talk about the boat, because that's his side of things. So, obviously, Eric Grand and Kylie Wallace, huge proponents for the big pole. They run the show. We're just kind of the vessel that gives them the site and helps move stuff around. He came to us with the idea. You know, we wish we could blow up that bridge between the trestle and the dam for our own reasons too, but that's our cutoff. But it's long enough for what Guinness needs for their requirements for the distance. And then luckily, you know, another great part about our site is that it's kind of in a valley. So unless you get a northern or southern wind, we have pretty much glass water. So, I mean, it just, all the stars aligned. And then, you know, we had to go to 3 county board meetings or different areas to get approval. And that shows the community behind us too. So, you know, all those stars aligned, and then Eric just pushed to make it happen, and luckily, you know, people have loved seeing it down here. We loved being a part of it until we got too fat, and then so now we just haul ropes and drive.
What record-setting events have taken place there?
Only the barefoot record.
The barefoot record. And how many is that?
42 or 3 did we get?
Right around there. I don't know.
It's 42 or 3, one of those two.
The aerial shot of that river, the barefooters, is just incredible from that event. That's so cool.
Yeah, we hit the record this year. Now, this was, I think, the 5th time we hosted that record. And remember, the record you started at 27.
Yeah.
So it's ballooned a little bit. But, yep. But we actually hit the record. We had some equipment issues, trunk being pulled into the wake. And it kept knocking out 8 guys. And so it took 7 tries to hit the record. It was 41 is what it was. Perfect. Not a fall. Everybody made it. It was the most beautiful picture. Yeah. So we're so late into the morning. I got my dog bugging me here.
That's all right.
So late in the morning, the crew went on shore and talked. Well, what do we do? Because Brad and I were alternates. He said we're too fat. 175 pounds is the weight limit. That was like 20 years ago. Yeah. So Eric's a jerk and won't let the fat guys in the line. And so anyway, they decided, hey, let's just throw it out. We had 50 barefooters on site. Let's go for it. And so Brad and I got in it, and it was an exciting run. I didn't make it through all the full time. I think Brad went down with me. But anyway, so it was really cool to be a part of. But anyway, the record now, I think it's 42 then. That picture's not quite as beautiful as the 41, but that's the official record. So.
All right. So you had to build a boat to tow more people and to tow fat guys, as you say.
Yeah.
Talk about that boat. That thing was massive. How'd that come to be? Talk about all the things.
Yeah, so it was actually the last barefoot record attempt. The owner of American Marine and Motorsports lives right by the railroad trestle where we start that event. So he walks down the trestle. He's standing 10 feet above us talking to us while we're trying these records. And we brought the Janesville boat up for that record, the triple 300Rs, and it just didn't have the juice. We just couldn't get the record. And Tony's up there like, what do we need? I said, well, we need a bigger boat and more horsepower. And he's like, all right, well, let's talk. So we were about to replace our triple rig anyway. And so Tony and I met about, again at Luigi's. He didn't do that stupid tomato salad like Matt did, but same place, same table actually. And I said, Willow, stop it. I said, we're going to build the boat, but to do a world record boat, we're going to have to spend about 13 to 14,000 extra on extra beef, extra equipment, extra rigging, etc. And he said, well, here's the deal. I'll give you 3 500Rs. Give you for free. Wow. You use them as long as you need them and give them back. And then he was going to pay, well, we had another sponsor pay for all the extra 14,000 in rigging that we had to spend. But yeah, he literally gave us these 500Rs for free for 1 year. He said, if you need them for longer, then we'll talk about carrying the juice and things like that. But so yeah, we went to town with the boat. We had Legacy build us a beautiful Rockstar boat, and Nick rigged this triple 500 boat with a lot of pride, and that thing was a beast. He drove it like a champ too, which was awesome. Now knowing how those engines are weird, they have this supercharger that has to be a certain temperature before the supercharger's open, blah, blah, blah. Now knowing that is even more impressive that we could use it in a weekly show. Because if the superchargers aren't warm enough, you have less horsepower, right? So he nailed it. He did a great job with the boat, but it became more of a I always called it the spectacle. Like we'd bring it to the dealer for like an oil change or something. I said, the spectacle's parked out front, because that's what it was. It is not, I mean, it worked for everything we needed. We didn't run it in circles for barefoot. That was dangerous, but straight line was freaky enough. And I'd always call the spotter in the boat the bravest spotter in show skiing, sitting backwards on 1,500 horsepower. But again, they drove it like a champ all year. It performed well. Mercury Racing engineers actually got involved. Chuck Wells was an integral part on why that boat worked the way it did. And so they, right before the records, made sure we were dialed in perfectly. They actually donated special props for the event, which we're running on the triple rig this year. It's triple 300s this year, but we're using those props this year. So we just had a lot of cool collaborations that put together an awesome boat. But now we say we have a normal boat now. And so the spectacle is down the road.
Very cool. So that was a big pull. Let's talk about tournament hosting. So a couple questions related to this. What was your first tournament? What's next? What's the long-term goal?
Hit it, Brad.
I guess we hosted a few smaller events, some flauntets and things like that, but D2 Nationals was our big tournament. That was 22, I think we did it.
And 24. We
Yeah.
did it last year too, Brad.
Yeah. Well, I could have blocked that out. No, he asked
Remember?
what our first one was, so that's what I was.
Yeah.
So yeah, 22 was our first one, and
Yep.
it went well. You know, we went into it talking to some other hosts about what needs to get done and things like that, and they said, well, if you lose $8,000, you're coming out ahead. So we decided that that wasn't going to be how we ran it, and we were going to make it into a place people wanted to go to, and working with the Federation and USA Water Ski, and Dave calling up those sponsors that he always seems to find, and we actually came out ahead on it. So it went well, and then we hosted again in 24, and it went even better. We were one team shy of a full roster for a D2 national competition, and I think it was the most highly attended and competitive tournament that we've had so far for D2. And we put forward a couple of proposals that seem to fall on some deaf ears, but they don't want to go with it. They want to possibly keep traveling it down to some regions where they have less attendance, but that's the choice that they're going with, and we keep trying to put the bug in the ear. I don't know if we're going to host D2 again or not. Yeah, that's the conversation for another day, but we do love hosting it. We wish it was as big as it could be. Teams coming. We've had teams talk to us that we were the one team shy, and we've had probably 5 to a half dozen teams come to talk to us and said, oh, if we knew we could have registered, or we knew it would have been full, we would have came to compete, because it's worth the trip to come and ski with a full roster. We don't really travel to go ski against 3 or 4 teams to say we're the best of the people that showed up. So, that's our outlook on it. But like I said, we built the site.
There's been a lot of conversation on D2, right? Like, it's that tug of war on, should it be in multiple regions or in underdeveloped regions, or I'm more of a proponent of let's increase participation at D2. Like, how do we do that? And you guys have proven to have a formula for success there. The 2 times you've hosted have been very successful. And so I just think however we can increase participation and grow our sport is the pathway we need to go. I think like to your point, Brad, it's a long, in-depth conversation that, the board ultimately needs to wrestle with, but you guys have done a good job of putting yourself in position to host those types of events, and you've done a great job doing so.
Yeah. And
It's so much work, and I think – go ahead, Brad, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sure it's the point you were about to get to is, we think our community could truly embrace it and make it, state's still state, but I think it could be what state used to be on a smaller scale, where the whole community is just behind it, and we have, sponsors and businesses and everybody. But to have to go and remind them every 3 years that, hey, remember, this is still a thing. And we think if we could, we kind of went with the proposal that if you give us 3 years to make it, show that we can do something with it, 3 consecutive years, we can show that we can make make it a destination and a tournament that people want to travel for. And then, put us on a 3-year stretch and make it a rotating 3rd year, where if at any point we would drop off with attendance or drop off, the shine comes off the new fancy thing, as it sometimes does, we drop off and bid out that 3rd year and go back to, status quo and keep rotating it. But I know there's a lot of conversations that happen with D2 and how can you grow it and how can you make it competitive and how can you, keep it a relevant thing. Do we add it to D1? Do we, I listened to all the podcasts on it too, and I know it's a heated discussion with a lot of people. And I'm not saying we're the end all be all for it, but we would love the opportunity to try and keep it a relevant tournament for D2 teams, because with us being in D2 for so long, we understand that you sometimes feel forgotten, and it's just what happens. And if we could turn D2 into a small D1 and still keep everybody in a relevant little pocket for their own thing, and it's just, that's our conversation that we go back and forth on all the time.
Yeah.
And again, it's back to the time. I mean, the amount of work it takes to host a quality tournament, it's obscene. Brad and I have so many on top of normal show ski stuff and trying to hang out with your family on the weekends. And if we hosted this year again, which actually did come up, we would have been from end of June to our end show, basically no free weekends. It would have been, I think, a little bit too much. And so to move it around, to Brad's point, it's tricky. And we were successful. Our 2 years we hosted it, we made good money on this tournament. And that's great. It's not like earth-shattering money. It's just enough to make it feel worth it. But to move it around and not fill the rosters and things like that, we almost feel bad for the teams that are hosting and don't get a full roster. It's just not. Yeah. You are definitely losing money then.
Yep. And so I want to segue a little bit, to talk about D2 to you guys, and potentially if your rise continues, is your goal, is your pathway to be a D1 team? What's the future look like for Shawano, and what's the vision in the next, let's call it 3 to 5 years, as you now are in your heyday? Where's that next step?
It never was. So I think we all went in, nobody ever thought that we would be where we're at now.
Right.
And we still try to keep the idea of our humble beginnings and, keeping our skiers honest. I think it was 2010, we won Division II and got moved to D1 for a year when they started the transition back and forth. And when we won D2, we obviously, everybody cheered, but then as soon as it struck that we're D1, everyone went, oh shit.
Yeah,
exactly. We're going to go from D1, and we were fully aware of the size of our team and everything. And we came back and next year's just going to be a wash. We'll go back in 2012 and we'll try and win D2. So it was, pushing for the top, pushing for second place for years. We were like, second place is our happy place. Just keep us there. We're a relevant team, and we'll go forward. But now
we actually had contingency plans. If the show went perfect, a driver standing in gear at intros. But seriously, that's our contingency plan.
Keep us in D2.
You guys just need to watch more Mad City shows, because we were pretty good at taking second place.
Right.
We've got that pretty dialed in.
But I think the last probably 3 years now, with, like you said, with our growth and everything, we find ourselves we're obviously not going to take on the RAJs and the Mad Cities. I mean, we'll give you guys a run for your money and we'll do the best we can. But I think with the ability to go up and where we think that we should be now, we don't see moving to D1 as like a kick in the ass where we're going to be, next year's just going to be a wash and we'll go back to D2 again. We feel like we could play with the middle ground. If not, on a good day, anybody's days can be their day. But, play with the mid-ground of a D1 area and keep it competitive for what we are.
We mentioned that last year in our Nationals recap episode, that I thought you guys, you and Badgerland both, would have been 4th, 5th, 6th place in D1 at Wisconsin State. Your teams were that good and that strong, and the growth is coming there. And so, I think you're spot on. That's the way my 30,000-foot view and watching you is, you guys would for sure do well in Division I.
And in full disclosure, we tried to win last year. We got out of state and we're like, we might have just wrapped this one up. Now, we didn't see Badgerlands because we went back to back, right? So we didn't really get to watch theirs, and theirs must have been great. Nationals, we fought for sure we won nationals. Like, oh yeah, we locked that one up and took second by like 40 points. And so it was right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, these last 2 years, like Brad said, we have not really been trying to take second place. We joke about it, but we know we're ready for D1. And in fourth, fifth, sixth place is exactly where we'll probably shoot for. I always say fourth place in the state is first place for most teams. So, because you got those monsters like you guys that's tough. You guys pull some great stuff. So anyway, we're ready to be in D1. We tried, but D2 will have us again this year.
All right. Well, kudos to you guys on your growth, your history. It's so fun to hear from where you've started to where you are today, the full growth of your team and your show site and all the things you're doing that are great for show skiing. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
Our pleasure. We love giving the dog and pony show the Ski Sharks. Lots to be proud of.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, that was cool. That's they are definitely ready for D1, right? Their team size, their growth, everything. We said it last year. It won't be long till they're a D1 team. Even if they were to take second place again this year, I think they belong in D1.
Yeah, I think they're ready. They're a big team. Like you said, they're pulling triple fours. Good for them. Awesome. Yep. Kind of two takeaways from what we talked about for me is like, if you've got a great site and you put the time and you put the effort into a great site, not only are you going to draw skiers, but you're also going to draw crowds. And I think that's really been, a big part of where they are today is the time that they put into their site and being able to host events and making it a destination for people. Because if your site stinks, right, the water's always rough and you don't have facilities, like who wants to go there as a skier?
You're talking about us. What the hell?
I am talking about us because we know from experience, like it's tough. So kudos to them for having, having that vision and being able to fulfill that. And the second thing is what Brad was talking about with, D2 and kind of like this 3-year, like, hey, give it to us for 3 years. It's kind of like a state thing where teams know where it's going to be. They can plan on it, and they want to fill up the entire event. And I think that makes sense. I think it has some merit and should be considered. And they're willing to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, why not?
I hear you. Great stuff. Thanks to Dave and Brad. Really great having them on the show and hearing more about the Ski Sharks. Adam, before we wrap up today, we got to talk about Saga Sports. Saga stands for Ski and Gymnastics Academy, and John Hovda and team are doing great things.
Yeah, they have water ski lessons and trampoline training for athletes. Up-and-coming freestyle jump stars have done all the countless hours on trampoline training with Saga Sports. You can build technique, learn new tricks without all the harsh falls when you train first on a trampoline.
Exactly, and, they have water ski lessons around the Crivets area in nearly any discipline of skiing, from basic level stuff up to the most advanced skiing in the sport. So hit up Saga Sports for all your training needs at sagasports.us. That's sagasports.us.
All right, Matt, our next episode, tournament season preview. Let's talk a little bit about all the tournaments that are going to be happening this year.
Yeah, so that episode's going to come out right following the Mercury Invite.
Okay.
So we'll have news there to talk about. We'll have some relevant results to talk about, and then it's going to lead right into regional season. It's going to be right prior to the Southern Regional. So then we'll start talking about predictions and what we think we'll see on the water this summer at all the regionals and nationals this summer. So that's going to be fun stuff. You've got, your Southern Regional followed by Central, Wisconsin State, and then the season wraps up with the Midwest region and Eastern region, and then those roll right into D2 and D1 nationals. So packed full. Our next episode is going to talk all about tournament season. Thank you to our sponsors today. Paul Stokes at American Family Insurance. Get a quote for free. Hit up Paul. Let him be your insurance agent. Flyman Skis. You know what they've got. Custom-made jump skis, featherboard, swivel skis at affordable prices. Get yours at flymanskis.com. And Saga Sports, water ski lessons, trampoline training. Find them at sagasports.us.
Yeah, summer is here. We know you're all busy, so we very much appreciate you taking the time to listen to the Ski Show podcast. So again, thanks again to all of our listeners and our viewers. This is Matt and Adam, and this is the Ski Show.
Thank you for listening to the Ski Show, the ultimate show ski podcast with Matt and Adam. If you have questions or ideas for the show, find us on social media or message us at theskishowpodcast@gmail.com.